Yeah, last thing quickly. Are people talking about a comparison or a contrast to the last couple of Supreme Court confirmation hearings?
Boy, I tell you, John Roberts and Samuel Alito faced a very different Judiciary Committee, and it was very, very tough. Democrats came at them hard. This has been largely cordial and civil, though pointed on a number of occasions.
Good evening, everyone. The judge testifies in her own defense. With the opening round of speeches over, the Senate Judiciary Committee got down to the questions today for Sonia Sotomayor. Her Republican critics were respectful but tough as they zeroed in on her most controversial comment that's been hanging out there since President Obama nominated her to the Supreme Court.
Day 2 of confirmation hearings for Sonia Sotomayor, and so far the proceedings have pretty much been dominated by questions about what she meant when she said a wise Latina might make a better decision than a white man. Listen to Senator Lindsey Graham and Judge Sotomayor today.
This wise Latino comment has been talked about a lot, but I can just tell you one thing. If I'd said anything remotely like that, my career would have been over.
I want to state up front, unequivocally and without doubt, I do not believe that any ethnic, racial, or gender group has an advantage in sound judging.
Things have been pointed, but by and large, pretty civilized on Capitol Hill.
Well, it was on TV all day long, and some Republicans really went after her. It was cordial, but very tough, at times uncomfortable to watch. This political theater choreographed mostly for the folks back home.
See, Lindsey Graham loves John McCain, has supported him so dutifully and wonderfully. But everybody knows John can have a hot temper, which I do too. A lot of people have, but to say that he has a hot temper and yet she needs anger management. He was, I'm sorry, you're laughing because he was tutoring her today. Yeah. That was condescending. I know. He was telling somebody up for the Supreme Court, now you've got to work on this.
He was. And so there we heard, Tamron, one of the most interesting exchanges perhaps of the day. Lindsey Graham, of course, not only exploring the issue of the death penalty and abortion, but he started it with something you were talking about yesterday, and that is one of the most dangerous political minefields for Republicans in this might have been the sort of whole way that Lindsey Graham approached the temperament issue, the idea that Judge Sotomayor's temperament is not fit to be on the court. A number of critics have written to that extent, and the way that Lindsey Graham did that by suggesting, do you think you have a temperament problem, and then putting Sotomayor on the spot responding no, I would suggest here that the way people view this might be pretty critical.
Well, it's interesting, David, because the issue of temperament came up with anonymous sources. I believe it was in the Post, Washington Post, that the story first came up, and you had many people who were going on the record, friends and coworkers, who say that she does not have a, quote, temperament issue. But let's bring in Chris Cillizza to talk more about this. Chris, what do you make of Senator Graham's comments, him bringing up, again, anonymous sources referring to this judge's temperament? People are really critical of this right now, and they're blogging about it.
Well, you know, I think Republicans, Tamron, have been surprisingly aggressive, actually, in their questioning. I think Jeff Sessions, the ranking member from Alabama, set the tone yesterday and then again today, very pointedly questioning Sonia Sotomayor. I think that you saw Lindsey Graham in his own way. I think if you polled the Judiciary Committee, Senator Graham would probably win in terms of the best lawyer, litigator.
Yeah,
he's someone who's, yes.
I hate to interrupt you, but I mean, there's one thing to challenge her on the record. It's one thing to challenge her on that speech. What did you mean by wise Latina? It is another, isn't it, to ask her about temperament. What do you mean by that? These are anonymous sources. People are reading this as if, and they have a right to do so, since these senators are reading into her comments. One might read into this that he's talking about her being a hot-blooded person or a woman who can't control her emotions.
The possibility of patronizing Tamron with the idea that Lindsey Graham is suggesting to this very accomplished judge that she needs to reflect on something as a result of this hearings. I mean, the blogs are already going crazy over this.
Yeah, it could be interpreted as taking a time out like a child to cool out and clear your head and get your temperament together. But again, we don't want to interpret what anyone has to say. I'm sure that Senator Graham will explain his line of questioning. He did say that she, barring a meltdown, would be confirmed, and he was very cordial to her. But certainly it takes one sentence to perk up ears, and you have those ears now perked up.